Remember the swing I made under the treehouse? Well, I found a matchy-matchy. Matchy-matchy is not identical, but it's kind of identical. And I think it's, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know if it's savable or not, but I'm gonna try. Looks like it's been out in the weather for a long time. Let's get it in the shot and see what it looks like. This one is different. This one actually has a steel frame. These are wire. These are steel wires, and these are steel. These big cross things. Now the woven part is, I don't know. It's kind of brittle, falling apart. The back seems to be stout. This back seems to be stout. Not so much the seat bottom, and not so much these armrests. But it's really wet right now, so I think I'm gonna let it dry in the sun and see if we can fix this some kind of way. Okay, this is or was a dive bag that you put your fins and your mask and all that stuff in. It's wet, so it's nylon. It's meant to not rot, and I don't think it's rotted. So I'm going to cut this up into strips and glue them on top of here to kind of save what we got as far as this little artificial, whatever it is, webbing stuff. Now again, it's got a steel frame down there, so it's just to kind of keep it all together. I'm gonna do one, not sure what I'm gonna do on the back. Again, they got a steel pipe, or tube I should say. So I may glue a little strip on the back depending on how these arms go, but I gotta do something with the arms. And then I would like to do something with the bottom too. Although, you know, even without the cane, the steel frame is right there. Yep, all right, I'm gonna cut this good bag up. I haven't used it in decades, literally.
I fuss at Barry for dragging stuff home from people's trash piles all the time. But in fairness to him, sometimes he gets little treasures. And this is going to be a swing under the tree house in Osaka. Okay, what are you doing, B?
I don't know. I'm trying to get this stuff to stick, but it doesn't really want to. There's not enough surface area. So I'm gonna have a lot of loose edges to trim later. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. Is that the right way to say that?
Yes.
So that I wet it out with the thin epoxy with MEK. And now I'm getting a buzz from the smell.
Uh-oh.
It's very aromatic.
Okay, hang in there.
That's good.
If you start dancing, I'll
Call
know what the
911.
cause is.
On the top, I think I'm just going to paint it with thickened epoxy, and because all the little strings are there, most of them, and then sand the bumps off when it cures. I may do that on this front edge too. I don't know. I'm not going to do the seats yet, but I'm going to paint the top edge with thickened epoxy, and then I just got to quit because this is going to be an all-day deal to cure. We're not going to have any sunshine today, and either I made a horrific mess or it's going to be comfortable. So on the top, I think I'm just going to paint it with thickened epoxy just to kind of beef it up, and then when that cures, I can take the sander and sand the little bumps off so it's not sharp. Hopefully this will cure and I can trim the edge with I don't know what. If I catch it just right, I can use a utility knife if I don't let it get too hard. And the bottom, I'm not sure yet, but yeah, this was trickier than I thought it would be. It's very hard to wet out because there's nothing under it but air mostly. All right, we're gonna paint the top, thicken epoxy, and then try to get away so I don't mess it up. Well, it's just afternoon and I walked out and I was gonna trim the edges with a knife, but it's in a weird state. It's kind of a rubbery state, and I was able just to tuck the edges in. I'm gonna take some more unthickened epoxy and paint the little edge and stiffen it up. But it's kind of cool. It feels okay. It's not sticky. It's very soft up in here, but a coat of paint's gonna stiffen that up a little bit, and it really doesn't matter if it moves a little bit. And this top part where I put the thickened epoxy, it's pretty awesome. I'm probably gonna put a little more. It looks like there was a cushion right here, and this part was protected from the sun, because this is all good. But this top edge is kind of brittle. Well, I don't know. It's not that bad. I don't know. So what am I going to do with this? I don't know either. But right now I'm going to put some thickened epoxy on this edge on both sides. I was even able to fold this over. This is kind of a sweet surprise when I walked out here. I thought I was going to have a mess on these edges to clean up. But no, this isn't so bad. This isn't bad at all. All right, how bizarre. I might have the only swing ever that's been patched up with an old dive bag. So my other wicker swing was, at least the wicker part was 2 inches wider than this one. So I'm gonna cut my 2x4s 2 inches less, because I don't remember having problems with the relationship between the length of the 2x4s and hanging them. So these are gonna be 28, and I'm gonna drill a 1-inch hole, boom, 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 and that's for the rope to fit through. And then I'm gonna do the router and route the edges. And on the last one, I believe I tried to do all this after I had it assembled. So maybe I'm getting a little smarter, or not getting as dumb as fast. So I cut my 2x4s and I rounded off the edges where people could possibly get a shin, and I drilled a hole and I rounded off the hole so the rope would be smooth, and I put it where I think is the best spot, and it's clamped. And this is, I'm pretty sure this is steel, so I'm gonna drill, put a bunch of holes in this and try to get a screw through this, although I'll probably have to put some kind of wedge because it doesn't fit flat. But yeah, I'm gonna start drilling and screwing this back one, and then we'll flip it over. I'm gonna have to get one in the front of this mess, just pretty much just like we did the last swing. So the board in the back, I got 8 screws. This pipe feels substantial. This pipe is really thin, but I still have got 1, 2, 3. I got 6 screws in the thin pipe, and I got a long one that goes all the way through. I'm gonna have to grind them off. So pretty happy with that. I'm gonna come back with epoxy and seal these so this stuff don't start unraveling. And then I got the one in the front set where it's gonna be. I guess I could put it underneath. That would look better. Let me try putting it underneath. Hold on, time out. We're not ready to screw it yet. Much better on the inside. I could not do this on the first one, and I don't remember why. But I tried, and it ended up being on the outside. It looks kind of funky. Not that it looks make any different, but so this one's going on the inside, and I'm gonna try to put 2 screws on each one of these intersections into this steel pipe. It's not much of a pipe, but I'll see what we can do. 2 screws in every intersection. Now they buried down in there, so you can't see them, but they're there. And if you look on the back, you can see them poking out. So I'm going to have to grind those off. I'm kind of ready to cut these legs off, but when I do, all this stuff's just going to explode, unravel like this one did, because this leg was rotted off. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put my 2x4s here, my braces, and then I think I'll coat it with epoxy, thickened epoxy, all the intersections and all the screws before I cut, let it cure. And then it'll be like this, where it really did settle it down pretty good. So I'm putting my 2 boards in, do this with epoxy, stand it up straight, and I'm gonna start painting. Painting's gonna be a pain. I don't even know how to paint it. And I'm gonna have to go buy 10 cans of spray paint. But I want it white like the other one, not black. Or, well, I don't know that. I just want it painted. I just need it protected. I need the epoxy protected. I'm gonna see what I got. Paint it with that. So I might have skipped a few steps in my filming. So right after I glued this fabric down with epoxy, the next morning I came with this little belt sander, and I just went around the edges and I knocked off things that were uncomfortable. Now, it's not sharp like fiberglass cloth, because it's not, it's just a soft cloth, but sometimes pieces were sticking out, and a lot of times pieces of this plastic rush or whatever you call it were poking up. So I just knocked those down with a sander. Just want to make sure you could rub your hands on it and not get a poke. And then what did I do? And then I know I'm gonna have to cut these legs off, and I didn't want all this stuff to unravel. So I sealed these little areas with epoxy. I'm gonna cut these off this morning. And then I spray painted. I was gonna paint this thing white, but in the last moment of sanity, I realized that was gonna be a ridiculous job. So I spray painted this as close to the original colors I could buy. And I bought some latex enamel and painted all of this to cover up the epoxy, which you can't take the sun, and just to make it a little bit smoother. And it's looking pretty good right now. I was debating on whether to put another coat, but I think I'm good. So what's left, man? I need to cut the legs off and patch the pipe because they'll be sharp, and put my ropes on it and get ready to go hang it. So I believe what happened to this thing is this is not a natural fiber. These are just this is plastic, little plastic tubes, and apparently the seat cushion covered to here for a while, and the back cushion covered to here for a while, and the part that the sun could see, this corner, this top, and the back part of here, the sun just rotted this plastic and it just fell out and gobs of little pieces. Every time I moved it, little pieces of plastic fell out. Now the bottom is done too, but I don't know if that's maybe structural from the weight, or if at some point they removed the bottom cushion and the sun did it in. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with the bottom, if anything, because it sits down on these metal bars anyway. Anyway, this morning we're gonna cut the legs up and try to clean up the mess that'll occur when I do that. So the epoxy that I put on here before I cut did a super job. This would have been a big old bird's nest of these plastic fibers coming off. I got one little thing I need to trim here, one little piece I need to trim, but this is a solid lump. Nothing came loose here. Boy, that tubing is super thin. I didn't have any tubing here, so I just kind of trimmed up the threads. Got one loose, well, a couple pieces loose here, and a little bit loose here, but nothing terrible. I'll put a little more epoxy on. I hammered a dowel in each hole. This is to prevent the wasps from getting in there. So I had a dowel that was a little bit too big, and I just put a point on it with the belt grinder and then cut it short and just put some glue on them, tapped them in there. This one's weird. We're just gonna leave it be. Okay, at the country on the ladder, just hung the next two little fancy hanger deals. I would never have bought anything this fancy, but they were from the tree house at Colin's house where the tree got knocked down in the storm. And I got the chain hooked to here, and I don't have two more, or I need to go find two more carabiners, because I don't think my rope will fit through this chain, so I don't have a way to attach. Well, this rope not going to go through the chain. I need a way to attach this rope to the chain. So let me go look in my junk box and see what I got. I know I had some in my truck that I just took out because I wasn't thinking about this swing. Dang it. We'll figure out something. Well, I found the two carabiners that I couldn't find. They were in the bucket, still attached to the swing. So now I can go back and undo all that Yankee stuff I did with the twine. Put the carabiners in place. And then all I have to do is find something to put under the cushion, because the metal bars telegraph through and it's not very comfortable. So I believe my new old swing is more comfortable to lay in than the old swing. So now we have two junky old swings under the treehouse. But man, they sure are comfortable. And it sure is nice under here.